kicker.
Of course he does this. Brian, do you actually do the minutes? Who does it?
Dr. Naris.
Yeah.
Because we have a secretary on our board.
Yeah. That's why Brian does the minutes.
That's right. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Finance, the Town of Somers, December 16th, 2025. Present Paul Hart, Bruce Devlin, Joe Talisano, Kathy Devlin, and Mike Parker. Before we begin, I'd just like to have a moment of silence, if I may, for Kathy's husband, Bruce's father, Buddy Devlin, who's a longtime Somers luminary and supporter and man about town who they both are very proud of, and rightfully so. Thank you very much. We start tonight with our exciting part of the meeting, the presentation from Mike Van de Venner, our good, and his assistant, our good auditors. You may want to leave the room, Brian.
Yeah, I know, right? No hide.
You know, these things are awful hard on you. Go ahead, Mike. You have the floor.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. And again, thank you very much. And happy holidays. I'm sure you're excited that we get to bring presents every year at the time. So, as in the past, and again, I'm joined by Caroline Swall. She's a manager at the firm. Ultimately, I was responsible for overseeing the audit work and issuing the reports on behalf of the firm. Caroline was really responsible for the day-to-day execution of our audit procedures. So, again, happy to be out here in December. Again, if you follow municipal accounting, probably over half of the municipalities in the state of Connecticut do file extensions and issue subsequent to the December 31st deadline. So again, I'm glad to be here in December. And again, your reports have already been filed with the state. So with that, I have a presentation that I'll run through. Really will cover the scope of work, the audit reports that we issue, provide some over financial highlights, and I'll make a required communication. Again, happy to answer any questions as we go along. So, as far as the scope of work, again, no changes from last year. So we did do an audit of the town's financial statements. That audit was performed in accordance with both the auditing standards issued by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, as well as government auditing standards. In addition to the financial statement audit, we do also perform a federal and state single audit based on the amount of funding that was received and expended by the town. And then we also perform an agreed upon procedures on the end of school year reports that are required to be filed by the school district with the State of Connecticut Department of Education. So in addition to those attest services, we do perform some non-audit services. So again, we assist the town in the preparation of the financial statements, schedule of federal awards, and the schedule of state financial assistance and related notes. We also assist in converting the town's governmental fund financial statements to the government-wide financial statements. We do also assist in the preparation of certain trial balances for the school district. Ultimately, in order for our firm to be able to perform those procedures and remain independent of the town, and management is required to accept responsibility for those services. Again, ultimately, Brian and Stephanie have accepted responsibility for those services, and we remain independent of the town. We do issue a number of reports in connection with our audit work. Again, the primary report is the report on the financial statements. We did issue unmodified clean opinions on your financial statements. Again, an unmodified opinion is expressed when we've concluded that the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America, and that's as established by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. I do like to point out, if you read our opinion, we do only provide reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatement, whether due to error or fraud. Again, we do not test every transaction. We do utilize sampling in our audit methodology, and therefore we cannot provide absolute assurance, but again, reasonable assurance is still a high level of assurance. In addition to the report on the financial statement, we also issue a report on compliance and on internal control over financial reporting. In this report, we do not actually express an opinion on the town's effectiveness of the town's internal control over financial reporting. Essentially, during the course of performing the audit, if we identified what we consider to be a material non-compliance with laws and regulations, or a significant deficiency or material weakness in internal controls, we are required to include it in this letter. And again, we did not report any such matters. In connection with the federal civil audit, we issue a report on compliance and on internal control at the federal board level. In this report, we do actually express an opinion on the town's compliance with its major federal and state programs. So for fiscal year 2025, the total federal awards that were expended was approximately $1.5 million. The major program was the congressionally mandated projects related to the sewer. We did issue unmodified clean opinion on compliance over that program, and we did not report any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses over compliance. We issue a similar report in connection with the state civil audit, again for fiscal year 2025. The full state financial assistance that was received and expended totaled approximately $10.2 million. The majority of that consists of your education cost sharing funds, which are exempt from the compliance testing. The portion that was non-exempt was about $2.5 million. The major program was the tiered payment of lower taxes, which really just requires certain reporting requirements. We did issue unmodified clean opinions on compliance over that program. And again, we did not report any deficiencies in internal control for that. So again, very clean from an audit reporting perspective. That section goes over your financial highlights. Again, there are multiple statements within the financial statements. The first slide goes over your general fund budgetary highlights. Again, your original budget provided for the use of fund balance of about $420,000. The final budget did include additional appropriations for fund balance of about $114,000. So you had a planned use of fund balance of approximately $534,000. Your actual change in fund balance was a decrease of about $530,000. So again, that resulted in a favorable budgetary variance of $350. So again, you ended up using what you planned to use in terms of the overall budget. Revenues and other financing sources were $365,000 less than budgeted, and that was really driven by a reduction in state aid. And then overall, your expenditures and other financing uses were again about $365,000 less than budgeted. The town's side was under budget about $188,000. And the Board of Education budget came in under $178,000. The next slide goes over your governmental fund financial highlights. So this includes your general funds on a GAAP basis, as well as all of your special revenue and capital project funds. The town had combined ending fund balances of approximately $12.1 million. That was a decrease of about $288,000 from the prior year. Of that $12.1 million, approximately $7.2 million is in your general fund. Again, that was a decrease of about $564,000 from the prior year. Of the $7.2 million, about $5.9 was unassigned, and that represents about 14.1%, or about 1.7 months of your fiscal 2026 budgetary expenditure appropriations. Again, the GFOA issues guidance. The recommendation is to maintain about 2 months of unassigned fund balance, but you also have other reserves for the town in terms of the debt service reserve, as well as some capital reserves that would be factored into that overall percentage as well. And then all of your other funds of the town total about $4.8 million, which is an increase of $275,000 from the prior year. And again, all of those amounts are either restricted or committed for specific purposes. There are detailed schedules for each of your funds within the financial statements. The next slide goes over your government-wide financial statements. Again, this reflects the town's overall financial position on a full accrual basis of accounting. So it includes all of your governmental funds converted to a full accrual basis, which includes your capital assets, all your long-term liabilities, including any pension or other post-employment benefit liabilities. The town is reporting a positive unrestricted net position of about $5.2 million as of year end. Some of the contributing factors are your general fund and other unrestricted reserves held in your other governmental funds, and then the overall funded status of your pension and other post-employment benefit funds. So the town continues to report a net pension asset on the town plan, so that's 109% funded. No significant changes from the prior year. The firefighters plan had an ending funded status of about 58%. Again, that does reflect the enhanced benefits that were approved in the prior year. So really no change in the overall status from last year. But again, decreased significantly with the enhanced benefits that were approved 2 years ago. The Board of Education plan has a net pension, is about 95% funded. Again, no significant changes from the prior year. And then your OPEB plan is 67% funded. Again, no significant changes. And that's actually a well-funded plan given that the trust was established in fiscal year 2019. This flex section goes over required communications. Again, these communications are really geared towards when we run into significant issues during the course of the audit. The first item here talks about a responsibility under U.S. generally accepted auditing standards. Although we do assist in the preparation of the financial statements, the scheduled federal awards, and state financial assistance, they are the responsibility of the town. So again, it's our responsibility to perform our audit procedures and express our opinions in accordance with our standards. In terms of the plan, scope, and timing of the audit, happy to report that there were no changes in the overall scope of work or the timing of that work that was originally agreed upon. In terms of significant audit findings, the town was required to implement a new accounting standard this year on compensated absences. That did result in a $1.3 million decrease in the beginning net position of the town's governmental activities. Happy to go into any detail that you want on that, but ultimately the prior standard required the town to record a liability for sick and vacation only if there was a termination benefit associated with that. So again, if you were to leave the town had to pay you for your sick and vacation time, then you would record a liability in your financial statements. The new standards require you to consider actual usage of that time. So again, you may be able to carry time from a prior period that may be in excess of what you may get paid out on termination. So you would come up with a liability in terms of what you expect employees to actually use from time that they accrued for in prior years. So the bigger impact on that is at the school, obviously. The teachers are allowed to carry forward a significant amount of sick time. However, they're not necessarily paid upon termination for that time. So under the old standard, you would accrue only what you expect to actually pay. Under the new standard, you have to book a liability for what you expect them to use. So again, that resulted in a decrease in your net position of about $1.3 million. So just more estimates.
It's a guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, we come up with basically a usage factor based on, prior year usage, historical data. But certainly it could change from year to year, for sure. Yep.
But if it's what you expect them to use, right, wouldn't it be consistent with the policy that's been going on for several years?
So you accrue based on the policy, but let's say I accrued, let's say I accrued 100 hours, okay? Let's say I get paid out on termination 10 hours. Under the old standard, you would book only the 10 hours that realistically you're going to pay out. On the new standard, I could use 80 of those hours in the next year. So then I would also book a liability for those 80 hours, right? So it's kind of hard to do. You got to look at it from an overall demographic perspective. And so essentially, again, it's a significant estimate.
But it's termination versus retirement.
It's regardless. So some policies, it depends on the policy of the town, of the contract. So each union contract might be slightly different. So yeah, it becomes a lot more complicated. Yeah. So in regards to significant estimates and judgments, again, primarily consist of estimated useful lives that are assigned to capital assets, the estimated amount of vacation leave if employees will use in future years, and then also discount rates that are utilized to determine net pension and OPEB liabilities. Again, we did review those estimates. We did deem them reasonable and consistent with estimates that are utilized by other municipalities. Happy to report that there were no significant difficulties encountered in performing the audit. We had no uncorrected misstatements, so any adjustments that we identified as part of the audit process, we proposed to management, and they were reflected in the financial statements. We had no disagreements with management. We did obtain a representation letter. Again, there was nothing unusual that we requested management to rep to, and we're not aware of any consultation with any other independent accountants. Again, we did issue a management letter. These are recommendations that come from the audit. Again, we didn't consider these to be significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, which ultimately would require a corrective action plan to be submitted with the Office of Policy and Management. The first item here is a recommendation related to the use of the service organization. So again, the town for the ambulance does use the service organization for the billing and collections. That fund has actually become a major fund for the town. And so we do kind of plan and look at that fund separately from all of the other funds of the town. And again, one of the recommendations is that the town obtain an understanding of the service organization's controls over those processes, right? So, typically service organizations will either have a service auditor report if they're large enough, right? Or the client themselves would have to go in and actually document and get an understanding of that system of internal controls.
And what do they have?
I've reached out to them. They do a service audit, so we're gonna. That's not gonna be a problem in the future. We're gonna.
I mean, we must have some contract with them, right?
We do have an agreement with them. Yeah.
You get quarterly or monthly statements, and
Monthly.
you bang them against.
Yeah, there's the data that we can audit, and then there's the process, right? So the internal control process. So it's just getting an understanding of that process.
And so in the future, they'll provide their service audit documents, and they'll go into the part of our control system.
The second recommendation was just accounting for grant revenues on a modified accrual basis. We had a couple adjustments related to the recognition of grant revenue based on the allowable costs incurred. Again, it's an easy recommendation to implement. Doesn't impact the information that you're receiving. Most of them are in special funds, where ultimately you're recognizing revenue kind of when the cash comes in the door, as opposed to when the actual allowable costs are incurred and you're entitled to that grant revenue. School district balance sheet account reconciliations. Again, this was really as a result of the transition to the new system. So the school district has a complete trial balance on their side that kind of feeds into the town's general fund, but they do have their own assets and liabilities. Those weren't necessarily reconciled. The adjustments are just kind of within the asset and liability, so it doesn't really impact the expenditures and the information that's being provided to the board, but it does kind of impact some of the information that we put into the financial report. So again, just recommending that those reconciliations be performed at year end and those adjustments get made before we come in to do the audit. Continue to recommend that the Board of Ed pension trust fund be recorded in an accounting system. I know, Stephanie, we talked about this. Maybe this is something that Brian you can coordinate and maybe put into your system. So again, there are reconciliations that are performed, but the activity itself is not recorded in an accounting system. And so we have recommendations that it gets put into the accounting system. And then we have a similar recommendation on the grant revenues on the school district side. Again, just recognizing those revenues based on allowable cost incurred. So with that, that really concludes the results of our audits and our communications. But again, happy to answer any questions you may have.
No, I think that's fine as far as I'm concerned. Paul, do you have any questions for Michael or Joe?
So on number 3, that normally happened, but it didn't happen this time because they were transferring to a new system. That's on the
Page 11.
balance sheet reconciliation.
So under the old system, basically I think everything was done integrated with the town general fund side, right, in terms of the bank reconciliation. So now with the new system, it's kind of, they're separated.
Oh, so you just have to clean it up.
Yes, you just have to clean it up. They're not fully integrated. Yeah. And again, I would probably elevate that finding if it was something that impacted the expenditures, what's being reported to the board, to the state. Again, these are just kind of some.
So are we writing an integration package, or we're going to manually integrate it?
It'll be manually done. The system doesn't allow for it.
Yeah, I don't think, the ERP allows it.
That's all I have.
Bruce, did you have any questions? We've been around though. Kathy, do you have any questions of Mark?
No, I just forget following around it.
Yeah, I'm Tim King. How are you? I guess because of your recommendations, is there any need for the pension the town uses to have any sort of control or involvement in the school pension system?
No, it wasn't an issue in terms of the oversight or governance of the plan itself. It's really just, putting the activity into the accounting system.
Right now, it's an Excel spreadsheet.
Right now, it's an Excel
It just
spreadsheet.
needs to move into the accounting system.
Yeah. Yep. Good question.
Anything further? Ryan? Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
See you guys in the results.
Yeah, we still have some stuff to do over the board today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you next month.
Enjoy your holidays.
You too. Stephanie, you're up next. Like,
Take care. Thank you. Here.
So I am here on behalf of Dr. Galloway. He's at Teacher of the Year in Hartford with Coach McCarthy tonight, so at the Bushnell. So he was not able to be here, but he did ask me to come and share just that about our budget timeline and our budget process and the development of fiscal year 27. He wanted to make sure that the board understood or knew that we have been meeting since August with our administrators. They have been developing the budget for next year. That was owed to me at the end of October. Dr. Galloway and I met with Brian at the very beginning of November to discuss next year and just kind of where we thought we might be looking to land for an increase next year. During the month of November, the administrators presented to the central office team. And from that point, Dr. Galloway and I have been meeting on a weekly basis, sometimes daily basis, to discuss next year's budget. And he has met with the subcommittee, met with them on December 1st from our Board of Ed, and kind of got their feedback on what they thought they could support as far as an increase. And so now this month I'm working on putting Dr. Galloway's presentation together, his slides together for his presentation to the Board of Ed, and our spreadsheets together. I am trying to consolidate those a little bit more to make them easier to read. I know the legal size was a little much sometimes, so I am trying to clean that up a little bit, make it just a little bit easier to read. So he will present to the Board of Ed. We do have another subcommittee meeting at the beginning of January on January 8th, and then he will present to the Board of Ed on January 26th, which is the second meeting in January. The board will deliberate for that meeting as well as the two in February, and then we'll go to our Board of Ed public hearing at the beginning of March, and then pending the Board of Finance's schedule will be on your schedule for the rest of the budget presentations for next year. So he just wanted to reiterate what we were doing on the district side to review what we need for next year and plan to present.
Any questions for Stephanie?
Yeah, on your monthly sheet,
Yes.
it's, should I worry about tuition or transportation?
No. So what will happen, I book everything, we encumber everything that we need for the students that are outplaced. And then when we begin to get the excess cost money from the state in February and May, that goes through Brian. And then I start, I'm like, oh, we are getting this amount, so now I can start reducing those encumbrances. And then I send those invoices to Brian at the town to pay. So that, once February gets here and I have an idea of how much we're going to get,
Okay.
that will all get cleaned up.
Thank you.
I appreciate your willingness to consolidate the data for us a little bit. But also, please give us the detail that goes with it. Okay?
Yes, yeah, you'll still get all of the accounts as you have. It will just not be probably 5 years worth of just numbers across those long sheets.
It's a lot to look at.
It is a lot to look at. I agree with you. It's one thing to live in it every day. It's another thing to only look at it for, a few weeks. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Anybody else?
Okay.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Keenan?
I kept it warm for you.
You do? I do. Sorry.
Just got a couple things I want to go over. First, as you know, the town has had an ad hoc committee to look at the 250th celebration of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And we've been working on this now. The committee's been working on this now for about 3 months. And they meet about every 3 weeks, I think. And they've made a presentation to the Board of Selectmen. They've got a budget they estimate to be about $80,000. And they didn't have a very detailed breakdown of that. But one of the things that I need to raise tonight is the fact that because of the timing and the fact that even though this isn't going to occur until next August, we need to sign up some of these elements early on. Otherwise, they won't be available. So there's a problem with the fact that we need to commit the town to do certain things before we were able to know whether we're going to raise that amount of money. So we still, though, have a confidence factor. The town does. Certainly, I've been to most of the meetings of the ad hoc committee. The fact that we think we can raise the money. But we're at the stage now where there's a company called Sky Elements. They have a drone display that we're anticipating. This is going to be the big deal of the day. It's going to be a drone show. It's going to be at night. It's going to be visible for, I mentioned this before, 5 miles away. So the Board of Finance are thinking about charging other towns to see our drone show.
Yeah, we've had a lot of luck charging other towns.
It's something to think about. Anyway, however, we need to sign this group up. They gave us a contract about 3 weeks ago. They've given it to the town attorney. He's made changes to it that I think are acceptable. But we're at the stage where we need to maybe sign the contract. It's for $39,000. We haven't raised a nickel yet, but we think, and I'm not in charge of raising the money, but I told them I'd make myself totally available. Whoever they wanted me to talk to, I would be willing to do so. And we have scheduled some discussions after the first of the year with some key people. However, we would like to be able to sign this contract before the end of the year. It's for $39,000. And I just want to make sure that the Board of Finance is comfortable with us doing that. Again, that's the situation.
Do they have a fundraising plan?
They are working on it. Good question. I had the same question. Sure. You have a subcommittee. We got people in charge of this. David Penny seems to have a pretty good handle on the situation, and I've been working with him. And I'm going to meet with him with some of the potential donors to explain what it is we're doing, why we're doing it, how it could benefit them. And I'm pretty confident that we're going to have a pretty good turnout for the town donors.
They're not going to charge like an admission or anything?
No, it's got, no, not at all.
What
I charge the other towns, though.
Yeah.
Don't forget about that.
What we would like to do is put something in the fiscal 27 budget as like a placeholder, in case there's not enough fundraising, that there's monies there to finish paying out these contracts upon delivery and so forth.
So when you sign the contract, do you have to provide a rider or a down payment or?
Nope.
No?
Nope. Due at service time, but we don't know between now and August how much is going to be raised. Tim and I discussed it, and we wanted to talk to you all first to make sure that you would support putting a placeholder line item in the budget that, if we don't need it, we don't need it. And ultimately, if we do, and come April when we're finishing the budget, it might not be needed. We might be able to scrap it at the last second. But
we also can control some of these expenses.
Correct.
I think, it depends on how things are looking as time goes by.
Do you have an idea of what the overall budget looks like for the?
Yeah, I think they estimated $80,000 is what they felt their overall budget might be. I asked them for a breakdown. They said they weren't prepared to give that. So whatever it's based on is based on.
I personally think it's a really high budget. I'm waiting to see the breakdown because I think there's going to be some things that are going to be able to be. They may not know some of the things that we already have that they might be planning to purchase that we may already own and don't need to purchase, such as tents and things like that. So,
something maybe given in kind, they may give things to us from the vendors.
Talk about it.
Based on the fact of what we're trying to celebrate, the sound event. But this is going to be a big deal. I mean, it's.
I recall from my notes that when we first started to talk about the celebration, there was some concern on the part of one of the members of the Board of Finance that two things. Number one, that we have some idea before we offered to stand behind any money, that we have some idea of what the program was going to be and who was going to speak and who was going to say what.
We could have the ad hoc committee come in and make a presentation to you if you'd like.
Okay.
I mean, the board selectmen has heard that, and there is a program. They have definitely considered who they would like to have, and like, for instance, food trucks. I mean, the expectation is that we're not going to pay anything for food trucks to come in because food trucks will be offering whatever they have to offer at a price. And the quality question we have is whether or not we charge them $75 for the day to set up their food truck.
Yeah, from my point of view, and I don't mean to speak from anyone else on the board, they have their own thoughts perhaps. Whether you have a show with a drone demonstration or fireworks or dancing girls or a band, that doesn't really matter, okay, to me. I know you're going to try to put on a good event, a number of food trucks, that sort of thing. Those are all, I think, things that we could do for the 250th celebration, or if we could do the same thing for Stephanie's birthday if we decided to. What I think Bill Salko was concerned about was any programmatic events. Who was going to say what was going to be presented programmatically during the celebration.
That was when it was going to be at Hillsdale.
yeah,
too.
I think a lot of that has changed.
And so I think in that regard, it would be good to hear from the committees on those points.
Okay.
And quite frankly, I personally don't have any objection to some form of entertainment like the drone show, but I do think the committee needs to present to us any programmatic events And
Who and what they might speak about.
I'm sorry?
Who might show up and what they might speak about.
Absolutely
Yeah,
correct.
gotcha.
And I think from Joe's perspective, what kind of plan they have to raise money.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally on top of that.
And then, speaking of Hillsdale, there's supposed to be a pot of money there they're supposed to help us out with that we can't seem to find or get our hands on, but it might be worth the first selectman writing a letter and saying, hey, this is our plan, and once you know what it is, maybe they'll throw a couple of bucks. I would hold my breath, but it can't hurt to ask, because that was part of the deal. Whether they're generous or not.
That's been reminded to me several times. By the way, I must say that Hillsdale is not so much committed to pay. You can't use the word tax.
Right.
When talking to Hillsdale, that's a wrong approach. You say tax, and they'll say, "Nope, stop. We don't pay taxes." But the issue is what can they contribute to the town? How can they assist the town? And it's up to us to use our imagination and insight to think of what that could be. Hillsdale has a reputation of having previously funded things like fire and police and sidewalks in like the town of Hillsdale itself. So I mean that's kind of what they're thinking of support for the town. I'm just trying to give you their perspective. It's very, it's somewhat rigid. So I've got to become creative and try to ask them as to what they can do to assist us without mentioning the word tax, which people always like to raise as, they said they're going to take care of the tax.
But this is something that seems within their wheelhouse to help fund the 250 celebration.
Well, I think you're right.
You got to figure out how to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And that's why I went to them initially, because Monticello was the obvious place to hold something like this. And we got that incredible blowback that was pretty embarrassing for some.
Well, if we could convince them to give us some dough for fire or police protection associated, I think that all makes as long as the money's green, I don't particularly care which bucket we put it in. You?
Not at all.
Great.
Anything further on this point?
Gives me good direction. Thank you. Yeah, the second thing I wanted to mention was of course, the town ran its winter festival night a couple of weekends ago. Very successful. As usual, we had lots of participants from the town, the Women's Club, we had the Rotary Lions Club, Scouts, Library Board, giving away free books. It was just very nice. I just wanted to share with you one thing, though, that I stood up on the stage initially just to help get this thing started, made some comments. And on the stage, we had Maureen Parcell, basically organized this whole thing and did a fantastic job. And we also had Santa Claus standing right next to me. So Mary Beth Marquardt took a picture of the stage, and a picture of me standing next to Santa Claus and Maureen Parcell on the other side. It was posted, right? So one of my grandsons, who's 3 years old, happened to see this. He lives in Needham, Mass. And we were doing a FaceTime one night when my wife was actually there at his house. And I could see he was acting a little differently. He got on the screen and basically said, I saw you with Santa Claus. He thinks I've got some kind of special connection to him. So he said, I want a bike. 3 years old. Anyway, I just want to share that.
Put him on the fundraising committee. He's got
Very good.
Hopefully he gets one.
Any questions?
Any questions for the first selectman?
In general?
Well, no, I mean, are you going to ask him?
No,
for
not
legal
about the event
advice?
itself. No, I guess I'm still a little distressed about some of the provisions not passing with the last election, like with the town manager and all
So
that.
am I. Absolutely.
And I think, Tim, you might have said at one point that one of the roles of the manager was going to be to help get additional grants and that sort of thing. just trying to think outside the box. Is there a position that we could potentially hire where the person's salary could be covered by the excess grants that they bring in?
Brian, I think, is being involved in this conversation too.
Yeah, I mean, there's yes and no. Because either way, I mean, one way or another, you have to commit to the salary.
Right.
If the grants come in, great. If they don't, then you still got to pay the person. Education does that. I'm sure. You guys run into issues where you plan for positions that are covered by grants, and they might not cover it fully. So then you got to rob Peter to pay Paul.
I mean, you guys have your hands full, so now I think you can go researching them. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know, is there other consultants who do this?
There are, and I mean, CCM has a grant writing service, and we're members with them. It really just comes down to figuring out the path of what grants are we kind of going after. They're not going to do it just to fill out 20 grants and send them in and hope we get 5 of them.
We haven't hired a lobbyist to help us with use of SBC grants.
We do have pathways to grant funds. It's just identifying, right now, like the sidewalks. We've got grant funding for that. Now it's going through the process of, getting all of the design and architects out of the way so that then we can actually utilize the grant funds and move forward. And, it does seem like a process at times.
That's a good example, though. It's something that even if we had the so-called grants person as town manager, that wouldn't really offset that individual's salary at all.
Right. No.
I should say it would help us get the money we're trying to get for the sidewalk, but we're going to probably get it anyways.
Yeah.
It's a question of how much time it's going to take.
To Bruce's point, there are times you can, with some of those grants, not all of them, but with some of those grants, you can charge administrative costs, and so you can take a portion of their salary and say, it's going to take them, X amount of hours, it's worth $10,000, and use those funds to offset their salary.
Okay.
There are those options out there, but
the bigger concern, obviously, is you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You probably took you a little while to kind of get used to all the roads. When you ultimately retire, it's a purely elective position. We have somebody come in green has no idea what they're doing, and that's what concerns me.
Well, that's exactly why the town clerk, we're thinking, needs to be hired rather than elected. That's a great example.
But we can go back at this again.
I think so too.
I think if we market it, you can't lobby for it, but we can.
But from
That's
now
part of my
until
plan.
September, we could.
We just have to take a different approach.
We also realize we could create a PAC, political action committee that can help us on that's not held liable for any kind of advocacy.
But it all made so much sense, and I thought the mailer you sent was great.
Yeah. I think personally, that the fact that the town manager issue was fumbled so much by the former first selectman.
That taste is still
creates kind of a bad taste.
Yeah.
And people are very suspicious of things they don't know, don't understand, don't hear about. Communication is a really important element that you need to make sure and with this advocacy issue, it kind of cuts us off from really talking about why these things are important, why they're good for the town.
But even the adjustment, $20,000 or something ludicrous, you can't operate this way.
I have a question. I want to put it to Brian, but it involves this discussion. Can we begin to budget by way of reserving funds for a town manager so that when and if we do get the vote for a town manager, it's not going to make a major impact. It's not going to change the budget outline very much at all. I mean, I wonder if we can start to set some money aside.
You can commit or reserve a portion of fund balance. The last time the Board of Finance did that was probably 2007, 2008 timeframe when they reserved the funds that were set aside ultimately for the Board of Ed's OPEB plan when that trust was created. you can commit money from the fund balance that can't be spent. So that 5.9 million number that Mike talked about earlier, a portion of that would go away, and it would be reserved permanently on the financial records until that position was done, and then you would use that portion of fund balance to cover it in the first year and during the transition period and so forth.
Good. Maybe we could just ease into it financially. That would lessen what you have to sell in terms of budget impact,
And I think one of the problems was people didn't understand and weren't told, and we didn't have the details on what is a town manager going to cost, what's going to happen to the first selectman's salary, those kind of details, which we have a pretty good sense of what they were.
Yep.
They weren't communicated at all. And people, again, the vacuum of information, they assume the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So my taxes are going up.
But, and it's easier to say no than to actually spend time trying to figure
we
out.
like things the way they are. That's another thing.
But your point is very valid. You've got 2 years left. I don't know if you're going to run again. It's up to you and your family. But if we get someone in here who doesn't know what they're doing, and they're sitting on a $12 million operation with fire and police, you could have a royal disaster on your hands. So I think in the next 2 years, to your point, Mr. Chairman, is we need to put the money aside and slowly market this, because we're one election away from having
Disaster.
a disaster on our hands.
Yep.
And it used to be $4 million was the town budget, and $8. Now you're talking, real money, and the Board of Ed is exactly there already, But I think we need to start talking about this at public meetings and let them know, we're going to do, there's a structure in the future. We're not going to put this on the ballot for a while, but we want to resonate this with the voters to understand the complexity of the issues you deal with every day.
Probably a dumb question, but we can't finance a PAC, can we?
With taxpayer dollars? I
Yeah.
don't think so, no.
Okay, so that's be all private.
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, maybe we'll have some leftover money from the drone show.
Tax those other towns.
I get to see us at the gate. Where are you from?
See some identification?
It'll be a severe shock to the Board of Finance, but there is another solution, and that is that the vice chairman of the Board of Finance could run. He's experienced as a select person, right?
My wife will kill you. Probably with the same bullet.
Never talk to me.
He's working 80 hours, 60 hours a week. But we've got to work
I
on
get
this. I think we've got some good
We got
ideas.
something to work on.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a bit off topic, but it's been on my
No,
mind.
that's important. I appreciate that. It's good.
Anything further?
No.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
CFO?
Motor vehicle supplemental bills have gone out.
Yeah.
They're in the mail. Some have already been paid. I'm not sure exactly how much revenue we're anticipating off that, but I want to say it's between $300,000 and $400,000, which is good considering some of the reductions in state aid that we were anticipating in the budget that ended up not getting funded. So that'll hopefully offset them. And then starting January 8th, all the directors will begin meeting with the Board of Selectmen every Thursday for the budget meetings. The town's budget will be wrapped up right near the end of February so that they can begin presenting to the Board of Finance in March. I believe that date is, have it marked on my calendar, March 10th. Would be the second Tuesday. That's generally when the Board of Ed and the town make their first presentation to the Board of Finance. 2 weeks later is your regular meeting, so it gives you a 2-week period to review the presentations and come back with any changes and questions and so forth. So you want to mark that on your calendars, March 10th. I assume your public hearing is March 9th.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Brian. March 10th and what?
And then 2 weeks later is so the 24th is the regular meeting that year. That's all I've got. And then you've got the budget as we stand in there. Everything's trending along nicely. We haven't had any big issues arise yet, but it's still early and there's still fire trucks that could tear up. You never know.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Any further questions
Thank
for
you,
Brian?
sir.
Nope.
Joseph. So the HVAC project, and Stephanie, and you can correct me anywhere I deviate from the truth. So the grant application has gone in. So we're hopeful for a 60% return on that if it's accepted. The final budget, we met with Gilbane and Glastonbury and went over all the numbers, and I got to admire Bill Meyer. He can work a number like anyone I've ever seen. So it's a very conservative $11.2 million project. We really feel once the RFP goes out and the bids come in, it'll be under 10 million. I think that's hopefully a safe bet. We have a draft commissioning plan, which is about 20 pages long, which basically states how every subcontractor will work, put all their stuff together, and how the town will accept the work and then pay them out. We hope to bid in March, late February, early March, maybe, if we're lucky. Stephanie?
That will be up to the consultant.
Yep. And to start work in May.
Yep.
So I think, this committee has done exceptional work. Everybody's contributed. We've had a few laughs. We've done some good work, and I think we're on track.
When do you hear back from the state, this application?
30 days.
We're hoping within 30 days. I submitted it. It needed to be submitted to the state by December 10th. It was submitted 2 days before that deadline. I'm hoping mid-January. All communication will go to the superintendent, so.
And they're basing their decision on the $11.2
Correct.
million.
Yeah, I think it was 11.5 was the actual
I think it was like
approved
527.
number.
Yeah.
So that's what was submitted to the state, and I think it was a $5.9 million anticipated on.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So if they base their grant, when we qualify, maybe it's say 60%, it's based on 60% of that figure.
Yep.
Regardless of what gets spent, is that correct?
No, ultimately you get 60% of what you spend.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so if the bid comes in at 6 million, we don't get 5.9.
No.
We tried. We tried. We'll fund that town manager yet. So that's where we're at. Again, everybody's done a great job. It's been
That's good to hear.
Thanks, Joe. Anything further? No, any other business? We have some minutes to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of November 18th.
Okay.
Any comment? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes. This is the time, Joe, when you really.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Christmas, everyone.
Yeah,
Nice
very
job
good.
on the audit, you guys.